My adopted son humiliated me in a restaurant and said, "You are nobody." Now I let his life implode. I raised my adoptive son for 10 years. When I called him out for insulting a waitress, he spat at me. "Stay out of it. You're not my dad. You're nobody," right there in front of everyone. My ex-wife added, "Don't ask him to respect you. You haven't given him anything." I just nodded. The next morning, they woke up, and the car, the rent, and the university were no longer paid for. I'm not the kind of person who shares his life on the internet. I'm 41, a corporate lawyer, divorced. But I need to get this off my chest because I honestly don't know anymore if I did the right thing or if I'm the worst human being on the planet. 10 years ago, my wife and I walked into an orphanage looking for a baby. We were 31. We had been married for 3 years. We had tried to have children without success. Adoption seemed like the answer. We wanted to start from scratch, diapers, bottles, the whole parenting experience. The director led us down the hallway towards the nursery. I could hear the soft cries of the babies. My wife squeezed my hand. This was the moment we had been waiting for. But then I saw him, a boy sitting alone on a bench at the end of the hall. He was 9 years old. I later learned he was wearing clothes that were clearly hand-me-downs, 2 sizes too big. He was away from the other children playing in the indoor courtyard. He was just looking out the window with an expression I can't describe without getting a lump in my throat. Even now, I stopped. My wife did too. "Nobody wants him," the director said when she noticed our gaze. "He's too old now. Couples are looking for babies. He's been here since he was 5. His mother left him and never came back." Those eyes, God, those eyes were pleading for love without words. "We want to meet him," I said. My wife looked at me surprised, but then she nodded. The director seemed confused. "But you came for a baby." "We want to meet him," I repeated. "His name was Mateo." When we entered the visiting room, he wouldn't look at us directly. He kept his eyes on the floor. He answered in monosyllables. The director later explained that he had developed defense mechanisms. 3 families had considered him before. All 3 chose younger children. We spent 2 hours with him that day. At the end, as we were leaving, he looked up for the first time. "Are you coming back?" "Yes," I promised him. "We're coming back." And we came back once, twice, 10 times. Until 6 months later, we signed the papers and brought him home. That was the best decision I ever made, and the one that would destroy me. The first few years were brutal. Mateo had nightmares every night. He would scream, wake up drenched in sweat, thinking we were going to return him. "Are you going to send me back?" He would ask every time we corrected him for something. "You don't love me anymore." My wife was a natural at this. I wasn't. I read books, talked to psychologists, learned about childhood trauma and attachment. I spent entire nights awake when he couldn't sleep. I told him stories. I assured him 1,000 times that he was our son forever. The day he called me dad for the first time, I cried in the bathroom so he wouldn't see me. Years passed. Therapy helped. Mateo began to open up, made friends, joined the school soccer team. I remember his first game, shouting from the stands, "That's my family," he said, pointing to where we were sitting. At his middle school graduation, he hugged me, crying. "Thank you for saving me," he told me. "Thank you for not sending me back." I invested everything in him, time, money, emotions. My wife and I were a solid team, united by the common purpose of healing this child the world had rejected. We were happy. Or so I thought. University changed things. Mateo made new friends, started going out more, different attitudes, backtalk that didn't exist before. I thought it was normal late adolescence, a boy finding his identity, but my wife changed too. She became distant, critical. "You overprotect him," she would tell me. "You don't give him space. Let him be." I started to notice that when I came home, conversations would stop, glances between them that I didn't understand. I felt like an outsider in my own family. 2 years ago, my wife asked for a divorce. "I need to find myself," she said. "It's not your fault. I just need space." Mateo was 17 then. He chose to live with his mother. That shattered me, but I understood. Boys that age often prefer to be with their mom. But I never stopped supporting them. I paid for everything: private university, the apartment where they lived, the car Mateo used, health insurance, various expenses, everything. Why? Because I had a secret hope that if I kept everything running financially, maybe we could still be a family in some way. Maybe money could hold the broken pieces together. I didn't know that my love had turned into transactions. I didn't know I was becoming a walking, talking, automated teller machine. I didn't know until that night at the restaurant. Last week, Mateo turned 19. I called him to invite him to dinner. Just the 3 of us, like the old days. I wanted to reconnect. I wanted to get back some of what we had lost. He accepted. That gave me hope. I chose the Italian restaurant where we used to go when he was a kid. The same one where we celebrated his first day in math. I thought the memories would help. I arrived first. I sat down nervously, checking my phone. My ex-wife and Mateo arrived together. She looked different, more elaborate makeup, new clothes I didn't recognize, a different perfume. "Hi," I said, trying to sound casual.
"Hi," they replied in unison, cold, cordial.
Mateo sat down and immediately pulled out his phone. I tried to make conversation. "How's university? How are your friends? Any plans for the summer?" Short answers. "Fine, good, I don't know." My ex-wife didn't help either. She looked at the menu as if it were the most fascinating thing in the world. The silence between us was thick, uncomfortable. This wasn't how I remembered it. This wasn't family. The waitress arrived. A young girl, maybe 18 or 20, probably a student working to pay for something. She took our orders. When she got to Mateo, he didn't even look up from his phone. "The usual," he said without looking at her. The waitress hesitated. "I'm sorry, I don't have your previous order." Mateo sighed in exasperation. "A cheeseburger. How hard can it be?" "Of course," she noted. "What would you like to drink?" "Coke," he replied, still staring at the screen. She wrote it down and left. 10 minutes later, she returned with the drinks. She placed everything on the table but forgot Mateo's Coke, a simple mistake. The restaurant was busy. "And my soda?" Mateo asked in a tone I didn't recognize. "Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot," she said. "I'll bring it right now."
"Are you an idiot or what?"
The words left his mouth as if it were nothing, as if he were asking for the time. The waitress turned red. "I'm sorry, I'll bring it right now." But Mateo wasn't finished. He snapped his fingers. "Move it, I don't have all day." The restaurant wasn't full, but a few people turned around. I saw the waitress blinking fast, holding something back. She hurried away. "Hey," I said softly. "She's just doing her job. We all make mistakes." Mateo looked at me as if he just noticed I was there. "What?" "You spoke to her rudely. It's a tough job. She just forgot a soda." Something in his expression changed. "Something ugly. Stay out of it. You're not my dad." The restaurant could have collapsed at that moment and I wouldn't have noticed. The background noise disappeared. All I could hear was my heart pounding in my ears. "What did you say?" "You heard me," he replied louder. Now people at nearby tables were definitely listening. "You're nobody here. Stop acting like you're important." I looked at my ex-wife, hoping she would say something, correct him, defend the 10 years I spent being his father, but she just sighed. "My mom's right," Mateo continued. "You're just the guy who pays the bills." I felt heat rising up my neck. My hands started to tremble. I clenched my fists under the table. My ex-wife finally spoke, but it wasn't what I expected. "He's right," she said, looking me straight in the eyes. "Don't ask him to respect you. You haven't given him anything but money. You haven't given him anything but money." Those words echoed in my head like bells. The waitress returned with Mateo's soda, placed it on the table without making eye contact with anyone, and left quickly. She could probably feel the tension. Other diners looked at their plates, pretending not to listen, but everyone had heard. Everyone had seen the 41-year-old man be publicly humiliated by the son he raised and the woman he loved. I stood up, took out my wallet, and left enough cash to cover the entire bill and a generous tip for the waitress who didn't deserve to be treated that way. "Have a good night," I said. My voice sounded strangely calm. I walked out of the restaurant with what dignity I had left. In the parking lot, my hands were shaking so much that it took me 3 tries to get the key in the car door. I drove home on autopilot, but my mind wasn't on the road. It was in a hospital 8 years ago when Mateo had appendicitis, 48 hours without sleep by his side, holding his hand every time he moaned in pain. It was in the backyard teaching him how to ride a bike, running behind him. "I won't let go, I promise." His laughter when he finally got it. It was in the principal's office defending him from 3 bullies. My lawyer suit on, my voice firm. "This will not happen again." It was paying for years of therapy so he could process the abandonment of his biological mother, so he could sleep without nightmares, so he could trust that someone loved him. It was buying him his first car, the look of pure joy on his face when I gave him the keys. "You're the best dad in the world," he had said. "You haven't given him anything but money." I got home. I couldn't sleep. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I picked up my phone. I opened social media. Something prompted me to look up my ex-wife's profile. What I found took my breath away. Pictures with a man I didn't know. Lots of pictures. Dated from 6 months ago, comments from her. "My boyfriend is the best. I finally have a real man." Mateo commented on those photos. "I like him better than my old man." I kept scrolling. A post from Mateo from 2 weeks ago, grateful for my mom who was always there. No mention of me. As if 10 years hadn't existed. As if the sleepless nights hadn't existed. As if the man who took him out of the orphanage had never existed. I closed the phone. I sat in the darkness of my living room. The clock struck 4 o'clock in the morning and something inside me broke. Or maybe something was fixed, I'm not sure. I opened my laptop. As a corporate lawyer, I know contracts, I know legal obligations, and I knew exactly where I stood. Mateo was a legal adult, 19 years old. The adoption papers did not obligate me to support an adult. The divorce did not include child support for him because he was no longer a minor. Everything I paid for, university, apartment, car, insurance, was completely voluntary. Everything was in my name. The rental agreements, the car title, the insurance policies, all of it. I've been an automated teller machine, I thought. A damn walking, breathing, bleeding automated teller machine. If I'm nobody, then nobody is entitled to my money. The decision formed clear and cold in my mind. It wasn't revenge. It was self-respect. It was the last act of love I could give myself. I opened my email. First, an email to the university for the cancellation of tuition payments. It was brief, professional, effective immediately, and copied from my records. Second, an email to the landlord of the apartment where they lived. I would not be renewing the lease, giving 30 days notice as required by law. Third, a call scheduled for 9 o'clock in the morning to the insurance company for cancellation of the car's policy and a request for vehicle repossession. Fourth, cancellation of health insurance, effective at the end of the month. I didn't write dramatic messages. I didn't threaten. I didn't seek to hurt them. I just withdrew what I was legally entitled to withdraw. I checked each email 3 times, the lawyer in me, ensuring everything was legal, clean, indisputable. I sent the last email at 6:47 in the morning, just as the sun was beginning to rise. I lay back on the sofa, closed my eyes, and for the first time in 2 years, I slept without waking up. My phone started ringing at 8:23 in the morning. I didn't answer. The phone didn't stop ringing all day. 8:23 in the morning, first call from Mateo, then a text message. What's up with the email from the university? 9:15 in the morning, Dad, answer. 10:30 in the morning, what did you do? 12 o'clock in the afternoon, you can't do this. 3:45 in the afternoon, you're a selfish bastard. My ex-wife, too. We need to talk now. This is financial abuse. You're going to destroy his future. What kind of father does this? I counted 47 missed calls that first day. I replied only once, a short, measured text message. I reread it 3 times before sending. I am not his father. He made that very clear last night. According to you both, I have given nothing, so there is nothing to take away. Final decision, no discussion. I blocked both numbers temporarily. I just needed silence. The silence lasted 2 days. On the 3rd day, my ex-wife showed up at my door. It was 7 o'clock in the evening. I had just gotten home from work. I've been ringing the bell like crazy, she said when I opened it. We need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. You can't do this to us. Mateo's going to lose the university. Mateo is an adult. Adults find ways to pay for their own things. She tried to push her way in. I put my arm in the door frame, not aggressively, just firm. She started with tears. You're not like this. You love Mateo. This isn't who you are. When the tears didn't work, the threats came. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to tell everyone what kind of monster you are. I'm a lawyer, I reminded her. Everything I did is legal. It's all documented, and we both know you don't have a case. Her face changed. The mask fell. Something ugly appeared. Something that had perhaps always been there, but I hadn't wanted to see. After everything you've invested in him, you're just going to throw it all away? I'm not throwing anything away. He threw 10 years down the drain when he told me I wasn't his father. You threw my dignity in the trash when you humiliated me in public. But he's your son. No, I corrected her. According to him, I'm not. Tell your boyfriend to support you. After all, I hear he's a better man than me. Her face went white. She didn't expect me to know. I closed the door. I heard her screaming on the other side for 5 minutes. Then her footsteps walking away. Then the sound of her car's engine. I poured myself a whiskey, not because I needed it, but because I could. The following weeks were revealing. Through mutual acquaintances, through social media I hadn't blocked, I watched reality unfold. The university sent Mateo a letter. He had to pay the full semester or drop his classes. He tried to apply for student loans. Rejected, too young, no credit history, no CO signer. He had to leave the private university. He looked into public universities, but the semester had already started. He would have to wait for the next cycle. The landlord gave them their legal 30 days. They looked for something cheaper. They had to move to an area my ex-wife had sworn she would never set foot in. Smaller, farther, older. Mateo needed to work. He had never worked a day in his life. 19 years old with no work experience. He found something at a fast food restaurant part-time, minimum wage. The car. That was the most satisfying part, if I'm being honest. The tow truck arrived on a Tuesday morning. All legal, all documented. The car was in my name. Mateo had no legal right to it. They sent me a picture when they picked it up. Mateo standing on the street watching them take the Honda. His hands on his head, his face a mixture of rage and disbelief. I didn't feel joy, I just felt peace. But the most interesting part was what happened between them. My ex-wife started putting pressure on her boyfriend, that man who was better than me, that real man. We need help, she told him, according to a mutual friend. I can't pay for everything alone. The boyfriend started to distance himself. I thought this was just a casual thing, apparently, he said. I can't support your adult son. The fights began. Social media posts being deleted, pictures disappearing. Mateo blamed his mother. "This is your fault for talking bad about him, for making me believe he gave us nothing." She blamed him. "You insulted him in public. You said he wasn't your father." The boyfriend completely disappeared by the second month. My ex-wife got a second job, a cashier at a supermarket. She, who had stopped working when we got married because I earned enough for both of us. Mateo was working double shifts at the restaurant, coming home smelling of grease, exhausted, learning what it meant to earn every dollar. I watched it all from a distance, not with joy, not with revenge, but with a strange sense of quiet justice. I didn't feel good about their suffering, but I felt good about myself, and that was the difference. 3 months after that night at the restaurant, I received a message. I had unblocked their numbers a week earlier. I don't know why. Maybe curiosity. Maybe I was ready. The message was from Mateo. "I know I don't deserve a response. I just wanted to say that I understand. I work in a restaurant now. Yesterday, a customer treated me the way I treated that waitress." He snapped his fingers at me, told me to move it, and I remembered you, your face that night. "I'm sorry. I know that's not enough, but I needed to say it." I read the message 5 times. I didn't respond immediately. I thought about it. Finally, I wrote, "I wish you the best. Growing up hurts. I hope you learn. Nothing more." There was no conversation after that. No dramatic reconciliation with tears and hugs. We didn't become a family again. But something had been said. Something had been acknowledged. The door wasn't locked. It was ajar for someday. For when he was truly a man and not a boy, playing at being one. Yesterday, I took out an old photo from the orphanage. The one we took the day we met Mateo, that 9-year-old boy with sad eyes looking at the camera as if he couldn't believe anything good could ever happen to him. That look doesn't haunt me anymore. I no longer wake up in the night wondering if I did the right thing by taking everything away, because I understand something now that I didn't understand before. I saved a boy from an orphanage. I gave him a home. I gave him love. I gave him stability. But in the process of saving him, I lost myself. I became someone who gave and gave and gave, hoping that would be enough, hoping that love could be bought with sacrifice, hoping that if I emptied myself completely, they would fill me back up. But love doesn't work that way. Love isn't transactional, but respect is non-negotiable. Giving without limits isn't a virtue. It's losing yourself. It's disappearing. It's becoming a shadow in your own life. Sometimes the greatest love you can give is knowing when to stop, when to say no more, when to choose yourself. And for the first time in 10 years, I breathe without guilt. I work. I go out with friends I had neglected. I've started going to the gym again. I read books I had pending. I allow myself to exist without the constant question of what more I can give. The photo of Mateo is still in my office. I didn't take it down because those 10 years existed. They were real. They were beautiful in their time. But that chapter is closed, and it's okay that it's closed. Maybe someday when he's a man who understands what sacrifice means, when he knows what it costs to lift up someone the world has rejected, maybe then we can have a real conversation. But for now, I am at peace, and that peace is worth more than any title of father that no longer belongs to me. To anyone reading this who can relate, I tell you, don't be emotional automated teller machines. Don't lose yourself in the love you give. You also deserve to be loved. You also deserve respect. And if you have to walk away to find yourself, do it. It will hurt. But on the other side of that pain is the person you forgot you could be. If you identified with anything I've shared, if you felt you weren't alone in your own battles, or if you simply believe that more people need to hear stories like this, I ask you a favor. Subscribe to Echoes of History. Here we share experiences of people facing life's most difficult conflicts. Leave me a like if this story moves something inside you. The likes help me know it's worth continuing to share these stories that remind us of our humanity. Stepping back from the personal emotions of the protagonist, this sequence of events leaves us with a profound look at the quiet but relentless law of cause and effect. Choices made in pain, sacrifices made in hope, and words spoken in arrogance rarely disappear into the air. They circle back, shaping the lives of everyone involved. The story before us is not simply about a father, a son, and a broken marriage. It reflects a much wider reality in our society, the dangerous misunderstanding between love, obligation, and respect. When generosity becomes expected rather than appreciated, and when sacrifice is treated as proof of weakness rather than devotion, relationships slowly transform into silent transactions instead of bonds of care. In many families, there exists a quiet pressure to keep the peace, to endure disrespect for the sake of harmony, to keep giving because that is what a good parent or partner is supposed to do. Society often celebrates sacrifice but rarely speaks about its limits. We are told that love means giving endlessly, forgiving endlessly, absorbing every wound without protest. Yet stories like this reveal a difficult truth. When boundaries disappear, respect often disappears with them. What began as an act of compassion, taking in a lonely child, building a home around him, gradually became a system where gratitude faded and entitlement took its place. And this is where the story begins to speak directly to us. Because at some point, someone has to interrupt that cycle. Someone has to say that dignity matters too. When I look at the choices made here, I no longer see revenge. I see a man finally drawing a line where there had never been one. I see someone realizing that love without self-respect slowly erases the person giving it. Many people fear that setting such a boundary means destroying a family. But sometimes the opposite is true. Sometimes the only way to restore truth inside a relationship is to stop pretending that cruelty is acceptable simply because it comes from someone we once loved. You and I both know that confronting people we care about is one of the hardest things a person can do. It requires standing alone for a while. It means being misunderstood, criticized, even labeled selfish. But boundaries are not acts of abandonment. They are acts of clarity. They remind everyone involved that love cannot survive in a place where respect is optional. And so the story leaves us with a deeply human dilemma, one that many people quietly face but rarely discuss openly. If you had spent 10 years raising a child who later denied you as a parent and publicly humiliated you, would you continue supporting his life in the name of unconditional love? Or would you step away and risk losing him forever in order to protect your own dignity?